Good morning. How
Good
are you?
morning.
This is Insomniac Hour. I am Tumultuous, aka Dimitri, and this is Josh, and we're talking about cool and provocative shit.
We are. We're talking about those topics that keep you up at night. I guess that make you go just a little bit further. The push the mind to where it goes. I love reading, and I got a really good book collection. And today I was reading a book, and I'm listening to the audio version while following along in the actual book.
Are
And
you
it
both? That's crazy.
well, yeah. It's interesting how much.
More you could, yeah.
I've read this book about 5 or 6 times, and
It's
it's
just
a
silly.
thick book. It's like a Bible,
That's
and
like a nightmare.
it's interesting how much you miss the first time, how much you miss the second time, how much you miss the third time, so forth. And when you listen to it in an audio version, and rewatch and re-listening to it, you learn a lot more. And so this time around, I was just like blown away. I even sent you guys like a little excerpt of it because it was things that I've already said, I've talked about many times before, but it's just reiterated within the conceptualization of this book. And there's a lot of hidden dialect or a lot of hidden dialogue in this book. And the reason is, I mean, the book's called The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. And obviously, the secret teachings are not what he's telling you. The secret teachings are between what he's telling you. And so you have to dig within it to actually
Mm.
understand what was being said.
It's
And
right in your face, your teachings,
right. And when you go into like esoteric, tonight we're talking about esotericism and magic and these types of things. And when you get into esoteric symbology, ritualistic magic has been around for a long time. This is the Rosicrucian orders, the Hermetic Order, and the Golden Dawn. You have a lot of satanic orders and got a lot
I,
of.
by the way, sorry, so everyone knows that it's listening, I have know nothing of magic.
Okay,
Zero things.
but so when
I
you
just have an
start,
idea.
yeah, there's Kabbalah. I mean, there's tons of different derivations of ritualistic magic out there, and it's interesting because a lot of them have like creation stories and how they they
Like,
organize the universe in
is
conceptualization.
Christianity like a version of those things? Would you say like?
So a lot of Christians would disagree with me, but Christianity is really a creation of many
Mhm.
different paganistic religions,
Pagans,
belief
right?
system.
Okay.
And so you have like a culmination of multiple different solar um, religions that came about in Christianity. And one of the interesting things is the talk of the Trinity, the formulation of the Trinity, the three flames, which they're known in certain derivations. This is what I actually sent you guys earlier, and
Okay.
that this is really talking about. Higher consciousness, your animalistic consciousness, your higher consciousness, and then the divine consciousness, and
Right.
that Lucifer is defined as intellect, is the left brain mentality that dictates without the right brain.
Right.
And this is the grand illusion. This is the great deception because you're only getting one side of the illusion. And I've always said is that the false light, the illusion of Lucifer,
You're
is.
100% right. Christians would definitely disagree with you on this
I
one.
know, but that's okay. That's okay.
I'm with
We're
you.
not,
I'm with you.
it's okay. I mean, that's completely fine. We can agree to disagree, right?
Listen, I'm with you, and I have the Mother Mary and the little Jesus over there because my grandma
Yeah.
gave it to me.
Well, in
You know what I
Mother
mean? It
Mary and
just
Jesus, this was derived from many different types of religions. I mean, you have
the Madonna, yeah.
Egypt. You have ancient Egypt, which is the Sadic Isis. The
Right.
Sadic Isis was immortalized by the moon as well as the constellation of Virgo. Virgo
Yeah,
is
and
the Virgin.
Greek Achilles and his mom. What's the name? What's her name? I don't remember his mom's name. It was the same thing though. She was like a goddess, and she dipped him into the river so he wouldn't get like.
Right.
But it
Well,
was the
then
mother
you
and the
have
child.
Samarasis and Tamuth. You have Ishtar, and I think what Tammuz. I think that is Tammuz. I,
I have no
been a
idea.
long time since I studied this type of
I've never.
mythology, but
Yeah, I
you
just.
have these deity arrangements that are represented in many different cultures and many different paganistic religious backbones, which 325 AD, Emperor Constantine, Council of Nicaea, the Roman Empire was crumbling because they weren't able to control the vastness of their own empire. Governors and priests and so forth were stealing the tax dollars. And Constantine's just like, forget this. You know what? I'm gonna call together, and we're gonna formulate a one religion, and we're gonna unify the Roman Empire under one religion. And this is where they adopted Christianity. At the time, you had Gnosticism, which was around. And if you go into like the Gospel of Mary and the Gospel of Thomas, the Nag Hammadi scripts, right? You start seeing a completely different perception of Gnostic Christianity as per what Christianity is derived today. And I mean, the invention of the printing press was one of the most, probably one of the worst things that ever happened to modern day Christianity. Yep. And I mean, people proclaim today that it is the writ of God, is the written word of God. And I would say that right when the printing press came around, that stopped being. They can actually account, intentions. Have you heard this? They can actually account to certain books of the Bible to being written by Shakespeare.
Yeah, he was the Bacon guy, right?
Sir Francis Bacon.
Mm-hmm. It's the same dude. Right. This is just like
who was an alchemist.
Well, alchemy, which is the Holy Trinity. You know, the sulfur, salt, and the mercury, right?
Yeah. Well, but there's so much here, and so what I sent you guys earlier was actually a derivation of the Sadic Isis, of Isis. And there's a part that goes on before this, and it talks about Jacquin and Boaz. Now, Jacquin and Boaz are the two. Whenever you see like two columns in esoteric mythology, okay, you're always going to see two columns are usually preceding an entrance or a doorway. Okay. This is representative of multiple things. These things represent balance, but they represent the balance of the solar, the sun and the moon and the stars and the skies and the heavens, right? But they're also protectors. They're also known as cherubims to Solomon's temple. They're the protectors of Solomon's temple. And so they're both crafted through the balance of the heavens being the sun and the moon, right? So Jacquin and Boaz, if you're going to enter Solomon's temple, which we talked about this a few nights ago, is they trick you. They trick you from finding the entrance. You can never find the entrance because the doorway is never behind them.
It's inside them. It's outside you.
This is what you have to understand, is that what they're tricking you with is the same thing that we were just talking about in the sense of Lucifer, the great deception.
That's what Alan Watts talks about too, tricking the devil.
Well, here's the interesting thing, and this will be something that everybody out there can relate with, right? What you're seeing right now, your perception of reality, is simply a neurological function of your body. It is your body's neurological processes coming to an optimized state and producing the best interpretation of what it believes is happening out there through the interface with your environment, which means that your environment is sending out massive amounts of data. Electromagnetic data is hitting your skin, it's hitting your eyes, it's hitting your ears, it's hitting everything. It bombards your body, and your neurological system interprets these signals as what it believes is happening out there based upon your belief system, based upon a lot of things that are happening within your brain and your full mental and neurological system. Now, the key here is to understand is that everything that's happening out there isn't really happening out there. It's happening in here. Everything that you perceive in front of you, everything that happens in front of you is happening in here. Guys, this is what we have to understand. Everything that's going on out here, right? I can touch it. I can feel it solid. But really what that is that's electrical interpretations. That is electrical impulses interpreted through my brain. I touch, my senses go out and interact with the environment. Electromagnetic forces interact, right? Go ahead.
Now, I know that I'm not the first person to think this, but I'm going to be the first person to say it, okay? Mm-hmm. From all the people that are listening. We have heard Josh say these words before, yes? Mm-hmm. Right. But do you know why? He keeps telling you, it's right in your face. He goes, all you need to do is understand. That's it. That's why it's reiterated. I was just sitting here. I'm like, I've heard him say this before. I was going to cut him off, but I was like, I'm not going to cut him off. I was going to raise my hand. And I was like, he chooses to say these words with the way he does it And I was like, why? Because the repetition sets it in your mind, whether you know it or not. So essentially, you will understand eventually, even
Yeah.
if you're not listening.
Now,
That's insane.
Let me
I love
clarify a
that.
few things because I know we have a lot of good-hearted people out there. I
Oh
am
no, no,
not
yeah.
saying that Jesus isn't God or any of this stuff and that not to believe it. No, absolutely not. That stuff is, listen,
I was just talking about the last thing you were saying about the
right, but I
consciousness.
want to go kind of
Right.
regress and go back,
Agree.
and I'm not stepping on anybody's faith here. I just think that I have a different path to get to the same place that you're at.
It doesn't even matter where you go, man. What you believe is you believe. You're very right.
Right.
Whatever you want.
But so this is what I want people to see is that everything in front of you is an illusion created by your mind. Okay? Now,
In an
this
effort
is
to
one
keep
thing
you
I've said
safe.
before. Is the light, okay? Now, go back to the Bible, go back to Genesis, right? On the first day, God creates the heaven and the earth. The earth is void and without form.
Hmm.
God looks at his creation and says, let there be light, right?
Yeah.
Let there be light.
How
So
how long
God's...
was the first day?
Go ahead.
No, no, that was it. How long was the first day? Because he didn't create the planets till like later
Well,
on, right?
I'm going somewhere with this, right?
Okay,
So what I'm trying to talk about is,
I'm gonna shut
right?
up.
So God goes and creates light, right?
Hmm.
God says, let there be light. And he separates the light from the darkness.
Matter, antimatter.
No, hold on.
Okay,
What was God's first angelic creation?
Lucifer,
What was Lucifer known as?
the light, the morning star.
The bringer of light, the morning
Let
star,
there be, let there be
the
light.
great deceiver. So God's in Genesis, one of the first things that God creates is the separation of light from darkness.
That's hard. That's heavy, man. Because what was there before? Grayness,
That's,
dimness. Like, you
well,
know?
we'll get into that, but what I want to show people here is this is teaching you esotericism. Everything that we're externalizing, we have to internalize. Okay? When you come into birth, when you're born through that canal, on your first day, what is created for you? When you come out of that womb, what
Light,
is
you see
created
light.
for you?
Light,
The heavens and the earth are created for you at that instance, right?
of course.
And then you are born into light.
And you forget all about him. You're gonna start from scratch again.
So, internalize this process. And this has everything to do with magic, everybody. And we'll get
Yeah, I
into
know.
this. This has everything
That's
to do
what.
with esotericism. This
Like
is the
I'm waiting
root
for that.
foundation. And now I was talking about ritualistic magic. And the thing about ritualistic magic is you have to get through this foundation to understand what they're doing, what they're trying to teach. The hierophants are what they try to teach. Right? The adepts, the neophytes. Okay? Now what we're talking about here is the grand illusion is this. Is that reality, as you know it, as you experience it, as you embrace it, as you embody it, is created in the darkest, deepest depths of your mind. Your cerebral cortex is back here. Light hits your eyes, stimulates the rods and the cones, which produce electrical and biochemical signaling, which travel down the optic nerve into your cerebral cortex. These are electrical signals. Your cerebral cortex has never, ever experienced light before in its existence. And from that moment, it produces what it believes it sees out there. It shows you light on this tapestry in front of you. So, this is elusive light. Secondly, the light that you see is reflected. Now, you got to go back to the olden days. The sun was the bringer of light, the sun in the sky. Everything would reflect that light onto your eyes, which means that that original light that you saw was deceptive in its nature. Because firstly, it was refracting, it was reflecting the color that you actually see and absorbing all other colors.
Right.
but it was not the light originating from its eminence. Instead, it was the light being reflected from the original source.
Absent from, right.
This is the deception of light. So, going back into this, you remember when God separated light from the darkness?
Mm-hmm.
What does your cerebral cortex do?
Obviously, just separates light from the darkness.
It creates light from the darkness.
But yeah, well, it's obviously separates it as well as creates it.
Well, that thus creates it.
Right,
So what we're seeing here is that the conception of God in esotericism, in the mystery schools.
There's the balance. So yeah, immediately creates itself a balance.
But what is God? As perceived through esotericism or the mystery schools. There's only one thing that can create something from nothing. There's only one thing that can exist outside of its creation. Mind.
Magic is all about the mind.
Everything is mind.
That's crazy. That's heavy too. Like, this is some heavy shit
So
early.
this is the beauty of it. Is in English, if we derive the word Genesis, right, and we break it down, Gene and Isis, right, genealogy of Isis, and then what is the primordial goddess, the Sadic Isis, from ancient Egypt? Now, one thing that I've always talked about is I talked about this later on promorphosized god Hermes Trismegistus, who is known as the god Thoth. This is also the derivation of the word thought. Thoth.
That's him right there. I can't say.
That's right, Hermes Trismegistus. Now, Hermes was the only being who hath come before Isis and lifted her veil and learned the secrets of the universe, because behind the veil of Isis was the secrets of the universe. Now, this is critically important to understand, because what we're learning here is esoteric mysticism. Now, one thing that I'll tell you is Hermes was denoted or symbolized as an abbess, right? The bird.
Okay.
If you reverse the symbology, guess what Thoth actually is?
The serpent.
He is the airway leading into the lungs. Where Osiris is the brain itself. And that's where Isis lies between Jacquin and Boaz. And she's the great balancer and the connector to the eternal flame. The third eye.
Right.
The third eye. Now, here's the thing. If you can lift the veil of Isis, the veil of the third eye, you learn the secrets of the universe.
That's easy. No problem. Let's do it. Gotcha. You got about 30 minutes. Oh man, yeah. That sounds pretty complicated.
Not really. Yeah. Well, how about this? It's easier said than done.
Have you ever read The Alchemist, the book?
I've never read it. Yeah, I don't. Not.
You know about you. You know what it is?
I do.
Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've. Yeah, just not.
If you've heard of it, you know what it is. It's a long trip to get nowhere.
Well, how about this? In the trip. Then read the Upanishads.
No, is it just like The Alchemist? That's terrible.
It's a book of metaphors and lessons.
Right.
Of the kid who meets the devil.
The Alchemist is he dreams of a treasure, goes through his whole life, like has a great life looking for the treasure, and then gets there, digs it up, it's nothing, but then he dreams that it's back at the tree that he started on, and it actually was there. Like, fuck. Like, really? Why did you make me read this whole book? But it's the point. It's the journey.
So what is the Philosopher's Stone?
It's the stone that you could, like, expand your consciousness into higher power with.
Stop externalizing things.
It's the 10 Commandments.
So what is alchemy?
It is the
transmutation
of transmutations
of lead in the gold.
And no, that's not alchemy. That's just a part of alchemy. I was like the alchemy is like this whole. It's the whole thing. It's the three: salt, magnesium, salt, mercury, and sulfur. It's three. And then but how does that go into That's the best trick alchemists could pull is turning lead into gold. And then they sacrifice part of their life energy by touching it with the staff and stuff.
Stop
Apparently.
externalizing things. See, the greatest lesson. This is why they call it the esoteric. Do you know what esoteric means?
So no.
It means hidden.
One.
Hidden within.
Okay.
Okay. So
Like
the
buried in
ancient
here?
mystery schools teach you the lessons of the esoteric with conceptualization of externalization. That's the great mystery. That's the deception. The deception is Jacquin and Boaz are telling you all of this stuff is out here. When in actuality, it's all right here. So alchemy, right, which derives from Chem, which was a city in ancient Egypt, okay,
I remember watching this.
is the transmutation of base metals and chemicals to create process. It's through the material transmutation of chemistry,
Right,
alchemy,
but
chemistry, right?
it's not just baking soda and vinegar though. You have to have like some sort of like training that's up here, mental.
That's the
You know what I mean?
philosopher's stone.
Okay. All right. Now we're getting
So,
somewhere.
the philosopher's stone is what brings about the elixir for the transmutation of the lead into gold. Now, let me ask you this. What does lead do to light?
What does lead do to
If
light?
you shine light on lead, what happens?
It glows.
Not really. It's a very
Burns?
dull reflection, right? It barely reflects it.
Lead
Now-
is like graphite, right?
Yeah, it's like it's a dull gray. So it
Right,
doesn't
okay.
really reflect light
Reflect.
unless it's shined, okay? What does
Right.
gold do to light?
Obviously reflects light.
Shines,
Sparkles.
shines, sparkles. Now, how were ancient mystics, sages, gods symbolized?
Sparkly.
Halos, sparkles on their head.
Light, obviously. Right.
Light, the reflection of light.
Right. Okay. That's a good
Okay.
one.
So, alchemy is the transmutation of the soul to perfection. Do you know why they mummified the kings of ancient Egypt?
They ate a lot of mushrooms.
No, because the mummification actually negated the process of decay, which was one of the parts of reincarnation. They were stopping the higher up there, the kings and so forth, from reincarnating so they could actually go on the journey to purification.
Wait a minute. Oh, so this was like the movie Stargate? You're like, this was like this?
No. We're talking about ancient Egypt. We're talking about
I know.
mummification. So if you read
Do you remember?
the
Okay,
Book of the Dead, the process that people would go through.
Stop. Do you know the original movie Stargate?
Yeah, absolutely.
When the guy kept reincarnating into the next to rule because he was the alien, and then everyone else was like had to rule under him. Was it kind of the same idea, but it wasn't aliens? It was whatever.
Yeah, you can't take that movie in the context because the movie was written in Hollywood. What I'm trying to show you is there's the Tibetan Book of the Dead, we have the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and basically they have a process laid out where your heart is weighed against the weight of a feather by Anubis, right? This process was only reserved for those who had accumulated enough life to enter that process. And they would go throughout their entire life training for this process. Which the average lower caste person would die and be buried. Their body and soul would return to the elements and they would be reincarnated. By mummifying the body,
preserving it. Got it. Now I
it would
understand.
stop the process of reincarnation. Whereas that soul would have the ability to go and weigh against a feather to be accepted and enlightened to the next stage of existence.
It's almost buying yourself time in the afterlife to like learn the things faster than a peasant would.
No, it's the actual opposite. It's stopping the process of reincarnation to finally go, evolve to the next stage of life.
Right. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
Now, whereas everyone else is just hop back up.
Right. So when we're starting to talk about this, is what does this say about
means
So we're kind of okay. We're kind of like talking about esotericism. We're talking about cultism. How do cultism derive out of this? Right. That's what is hidden from the eye. Okay. So by the way, what does that mean?
that you are
Symbolically,
Illuminati.
it's the
Illuminati.
Illuminati, right? It's the one eye, the one seer. Guys, occultism, that which is hidden from the eye, the one eye, the singular eye. Make thy eye single. The pyramid. Okay?
Yeah, it's on every single dollar
What
bill.
they're really talking about here, okay, is this
Which is
inner
interesting.
state of being in existence that you have the ability to get into, that you have the ability to learn if you just understand. No, I'm not saying that these people are fucking saints. I'll say that some of these people are fucking as evil as day.
So are some cops, you know what I mean? Like there's
Well, but hold on, is what we have here is we have a cult, a system, right? That is organized and utilizing. So everything that we're seeing here in the world today has been hijacked. A lot of the symbology, a lot of the symbolism, most of the teachings that you're hearing about today have been hijacked. If you go back to Anthony LaVey's son back in the 1980s, he was on a lot of talk shows, and he will sit there and discuss how they're going around to different groups and organizations and infiltrating them and hijacking their symbology and their teachings and rewriting them for themselves.
yeah, but we've talked about this the other day too, that they were doing that.
Absolutely. But this is why you have to understand the true understanding of what this knowledge actually is. This knowledge is not about ancient history. This knowledge isn't about who we were or where we came from. This knowledge is about who you are now and what you have the ability to become. And this is where we start talking about magic. Because what is magic? Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that there's people operating right now in this world today that operate on a plane of magic that don't even know it.
I agree. I have a story for you to tell you that it's exactly what happened to me, I think. And I don't know if I was operating or being operated on, but it was definitely something weird. And and it wasn't like a 3-minute loss. It was like a straight up, I had to ask Amicus about it. Kind of got back to me, but like, I'll tell it later though. But yeah, keep going.
So I want to comment on this. So Shane says the hidden eye equals the right eye of Lucifer. The all-seeing eye represents the eye of Horus. Okay. The eye of Horus is contained where? Who is Horus's mother?
Man, I don't know any of this stuff.
Isis.
Isis was my, of course,
Horus was born in the womb of Isis, the third eye.
Right.
Same conceptualization we just talked about. It was the rebirth of Osiris, or the reincarnation of Osiris, which was the all-heavenly god, which in ancient Egyptian mythology or in esotericism is saying that your third eye is your divine connection. Your third eye is so Isis, in the symbology of the Sadic Isis, she wears a ring on, I believe, her left finger, a gold ring. And the ring is connected by a tether to an ethereal burning flame, burning fire, which represents the burning fire of existence, of reality, of how she's connected to the deeper mysteries of the etheric and the spiritual realms. And that's representative of your third eye.
Mm-hmm.
But Shane's right there, absolutely. Is the hidden eye represents the eye of Lucifer, the eye of deception. Now, symbolically, this has been turned around and means, you guys are going to love this shit, right? This will be fun to talk about this. I'm going to stray off real quick before we get into magic. So, the hidden eye, right? Now, this represents ignorance. He's saying that it represents the eye of Lucifer. That's right, the eye of deception. The eye of deception is the eye of ignorance. It's hiding that which is right in front of you from you. Now, symbolically, that is represented by a patch over the eye. And guess what colors associate with ignorance and deception? One color in particular.
Red and yellow.
Dark, black.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, deception. That makes sense. I just think of McDonald's. I don't know why.
Go back to the 1960s in the United States of America, where we have Lookout Mountain, right? We have the U.S. Air Force doing media propaganda. You had 10 different music stars that were born in a 10-mile radius around Lookout Mountain in California. And this is where the whole popular culture, the hippie culture, originated from, is this area. It was actually created by the CIA and the intelligence agencies to propagate this whole socialist, fucking groovy type of vibe. Now,
Is that where Marilyn Manson was like around?
I don't know
area?
about Marilyn Manson. This is the 1960s.
Not Marilyn Manson. Charles Manson.
Yes, Charles Manson was exactly in that area. 100%.
Right.
Jim Morrison, you had a whole bunch of other people that were born and raised in that area. And their parents were military as well. Right. Okay, now, getting into this, is you had, at the same time, you had Nixon, right? LBJ come out, and basically LBJ was a racist. You had Nixon and LBJ put out the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which basically took white people and put them in suburbia and then flooded crime and poverty and drugs into the inner cities, corrupting the black families, pulling the black father out of the household, right? This was a sabotage on the minority people by these corrupt, sick, wacko individuals, right? And guess what? They didn't stop there. They represented it symbolically. Now, can you tell me the number one marketed and branded sports team towards minorities?
Redskins?
Nope. The number one branded and marketed sports team to minorities that began its branding and marketing process in the mid-1960s. You know who it was?
Nike.
Nope. Sports team, not sports. Remember what the patch represents, right? It means ignorance, but it also means slavery, because when you're in a state of ignorance, you're in a state of slavery. Okay?
Because you don't have...
Which means if you're in a state of slavery, okay, your people are being raped, raided, and pillaged.
The Raiders?
Raiders. And what is the Raiders symbol?
Pirate. Oh, no. Is it really? I don't...
Black and gray colors with a patch over the eye. Not only that, is you had the black streak coming right down over the third eye.
No way.
100%.
Right in the face, too. Like,
right in your face. And for those wondering, right there, you have the Raider symbol. Exactly, and then you also have the two swords that cross behind, separating the head, right? Just another show of ignorance and enslavement.
Why did they let them keep that name? Didn't they make the Redskins change to something else? And the Cleveland Indians?
But see this symbology is deeply ingrained within culture. Okay? You have to understand is how many people are Raiders fans? Ask yourself this, and this is not a racist question, but how many minorities are Raiders fans?
I'll tell you what, there's more minorities and people and Karens in general to complain about this shit enough so they'll change the name. 100%.
So that symbology puts you in a mental state.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like offended. I don't care less, but I'm just thinking it from a perspective of someone that's like, that's offensive.
So it's interesting too to note that during this time, the NFL was put on television on Sundays at the same time that people go to church.
Oh shit! Of course. I mean, obviously, you have to control the day somehow, and that's the only 2 days home from home. Yeah. They go to church. So, why would you bang it on a Sunday morning? You know, like, that's messed up.
So what we talk about here, we're talking about talismans. We're talking about sigils. We're talking about symbology. And this is where we start getting into the representation, okay, of what all this stuff means. Now, we talked about the other day, we talked about archetypes, different archetypes of the mind. Well, guess what? Did you ever notice that the archetypes of the mind are always expressed in a balanced format of good attributes and bad attributes? Did you know there's dark attributes of the mind?
Of course.
There's more than 12 sub-archetypes. There's 12 major arcana, or 12 major archetypes of the mind of how people can typically be. This is why if you're a psychic, a palm reader, a tarot reader, or something like that, what you learn is you learn the card's representations to the archetypes. If you're an astrologist, You're learning the astrological symbols, representation, the anthropomorphication of the human mental archetypes. This is why we use a actual astrological calendar from 2,200 years ago. We don't use a modern day astrological calendar to depict what's actually happening. Okay? So, remember when I told you that you are completely unique unto yourself?
Right.
That if the universe is expanding, which I do believe it is, and that time is expansive with the universe, that means matter's expansive.
I'm just trying to look up the definition for the word archetype, and it says a very typical example of a certain person or thing. What the fuck does that even mean? That's not a definition of anything.
So look up Carl Jung's definition of archetype.
Okay.
Jung. Dr. Jung definition of archetype. But so think about it like this way. Is that when you're born, when you're conceptualized, when you're brought into this universe, this reality, when you come into the light, when the heavens and the earth are created unto you through conception in the beginning, right?
I'm just reading it now, yeah.
The universe is at a specific alignment and configuration. The whole universe is at an alignment and configuration, including all the planets, the sun, the earth, everything. Everybody all around you, all energy and matter inherent in the universe is at a unique configuration around you at that moment of birth and conception. Nobody ever in the entire existence of the rest of the universe will ever exist at that occupants of space. Ever.
How long is that moment, though? How long is the moment?
That moment is instantaneous. But here's the thing.
But it exists, right?
It exists, but nothing can ever exist at that configuration ever again. It's gone. That makes you completely unique unto that point. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, that point's configuration, the ancients have realized, is cyclic. Is that we are going through different... I look at the expansion of the universe from a single point, right? Is every 12 references, it starts repeating itself. These are called octaves.
Okay.
Right? So now we start getting to the musical connotation. We start seeing that, okay, every 12 notes, this repeats in an octave sequence, which means that they were able to basically break down the energetic expansion, evolution of the universe into 12 various cycles of expansion, of which after those 12 various cycles, you have a repeating pattern even though that you're born at that unique characteristic spot. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which means that if you were born within one of these cycles, you're going to have a more probability to have a certain mental archetype, because that is the energy relationship of the universe at that point in time in reference to you at birth. That's astrology. Yeah, well, it can't be scientifically explained. The fuck it can, it just did.
Mathematics is probability. Of course, it's like throwing a pebble in a pool.
That's right. And our ancestors do this. Okay? So that's astrology. So now what we do is we create a deck of tarot, right, that represent these different houses, these different archetypes.
So how do we know? Oh, do we know what time when the person was born? So we have to, like, a tarot reader would have to ask the person when they were born and then give them a reading? Essentially?
Not necessarily. Is
the objective
is that the energy from the individual is placed upon those cards.
But how would you know which archetype to read it against?
There's a psychic connection. This is why you have most tarot readers are psychic.
But
this is what I was about to say. This is why you need to be careful, because palm readers, tarot readers, and psychics, sometimes what they're doing
is just reading you.
Just reading you. Because I can look at somebody and understand their archetypical nature. If I sit there and watch their nature,
body language, of course,
I'm going to know who they are.
What situations they're comfortable in versus not.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely a Gemini. She's an Aries. Like,
Whereas an experience with me, before my daughter was born, I walked into a Costco with my son, and an old lady pulls up in a motor cart, does a little beep, 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 backs up and goes, "When's the little baby girl due?" And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Not even with my wife. My wife was on the other side of the store. We walked separated at the entrance. When's the
Yeah,
little
and
baby
she's like,
girl do?
which goddess are you going to name her after? Like,
Hey, she says,
who are you?
what goddess are you
Would
going
have
to name
shot
her
her.
after? Are you still trying to decide which goddess you're going to name her? And we were actually having that discussion in the car ride up there.
It's like you.
Yep. Now that is a psychic. That is someone who's interconnected with the threads of energy, the strings. And this is why we can actually look at quantum string theory as something that's very, very viable. That information inherent in the universe is contained within the vibrational strings and tethers that connect the fabric of the universe. So now let's get into magic. So ritualistic magic utilizes symbols, sigils, and talismans, these types of things, to represent energy. So we have to define a symbol. What is a symbol?
It's a thing. What do you mean it's a symbol? It's a noun.
What is it? What's a symbol?
A noun. A representation of intent.
Ooh, I like it. Now let me ask you this. Now go to quantum physics. What about quantum wave theory? What happens when we look at the wave?
It changes.
What does it change
Well,
towards?
no, the particle wave changes to a wave.
Well, no, the wave changes to a particle. It's a collapse of the wave function, right? The observer effect in quantum physics. Now, what does the wave collapse into? The probability of, what word did you just use?
Intent.
Intent. So a symbol is a representation of energy that has a probability of manifesting towards an intent on the quantum level.
Manifesting is the key word there, guys. It has the probability of manifesting.
You can replace manifesting with wave collapsing.
No, I understand, but I'm emphasizing what you said. I think it's important that people understand that is the intent that's projected into the symbol, the intensity of the intent, how much it means to you, is going to mean how easy it is going to be actually turned to manifestation.
What's intent? Intent does have a signification of emotion, but is not completely derived through meaning. This is why I said there's magicians walking around this planet that don't know they're magicians.
Okay.
But there's magicians who know they're magicians who can move mountains. And actually, the interesting thing is they can even show you a mountain that was never there. Or make the mountain disappear and you would have never known the difference.
Can I do the same thing with a bank?
They can do the same thing with anything. And they exist on this planet right now. And you have that same capacity. So, a symbol is a representation of energy on the quantum level that has a probability of wave collapse or manifestation of an intent, which means that the symbol holds energy. It holds information. Instead of intent, I use information because it's more easily transferable. But so a symbol holds information.
Yeah, data.
Dr. Emoto in water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what was interesting that you learned about Dr. Emoto and the structure of water?
It was that, was it duplicated his experiments? Like, did they verify it?
Right.
Basically, what he took single molecules of water and he froze them, and he took pictures of them as they froze, as they crystallized. And he realized that water that was purified, came from a spring, had this beautiful crystalline pattern, and the contaminated water had a gross looking thing.
When you froze the water, what happened?
What do you mean? Well, it depends on what you did. If you said thank you to the water, and if you projected intent that was positive, the perfect hexagon crystal amazingness. Right. And then if you told it to go F itself, it wouldn't look that well.
And if you told it nothing, if you let the intent blank, and if you, let's say you had a bad message in the water, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you froze it.
Right.
Naturally. Oh, no, actually, when you freeze it naturally over water, like in a natural spring or something. You let it go through the whole process again. You let it go over the stones, and then you freeze that water again after the message is alleviated. It goes back to nothingness. There's nothing stored in it. It's natural.
You had a Buddhist monk pray over contaminated water, and it started fixing itself. Like it was insane.
But what was interesting is they found out that the angle of orientation of the hydrostatic bonds between the water molecules in its structure was at 103 degrees, which is one of the Fibonacci or golden mean numbers.
After he did the thing?
Yeah.
Or
after it resets the structure. Now, what is interesting about the water and intent is that the structure held the information. The water was interchangeable within the structure. This is what almost everybody who watches that documentary and listens as the scientists describe it miss.
It's not so. Oh shit! So you're telling me that the water is just the record, and the structure is the needle that's
The
playing the
water
record.
is the physical representation of the form. Just like your skin cells go out every 7 days and new skin cells form, and those new skin cells form the structure, there is something, a field that is creating the structure for the water to formulate around. The field is what contains the information or holds the information. And guess what the field is? Information held on the quantum level that has the probability of manifestation.
The field is your intent.
The field is the field. It is the literal etheric field of the universe, which holds conscious energy because it is consciousness at its fundamental
water just
basis.
Right.
And water is a massive receptor of this field. Now, if you've ever taken a shower or done the bath or watched the movie Constantine, he goes in the bath to go to Hades.
Mm-hmm.
Water is a massive receptor because it amplifies the effects of the field that's existing around us. Now, how about this, Dimitri? If you asked a scientist today, a biologist, human life, all life, organic life, how do you define organic life?
It's an organism.
Right, but they say it's some type of life form. What type of life form do they say it is?
I don't know. Organic?
Yeah.
I guess warm-blooded, maybe? Cold-blooded?
Let's look it up.
There's genus, there's species, what is it?
Well, you're going a little too
phylum.
Yeah. So, have you ever heard that we're carbon?
Yes, carbon-based life form. Right.
Okay, show me one singular atom carbon-based life form.
Singular atom carbon.
Yeah, show me one carbon-based life form. That's like just made out of pure carbon.
Paramecium?
No. Show me one organism, one piece of organic material in this universe that is made out of strictly carbon.
Well, we all are after we burn, don't we?
No. That's not what I'm saying. Show me one organic substance on this planet that is pure fucking carbon.
The charcoal?
Is it alive?
More, yeah, I get it. Oh, wow. So, okay, so what does that mean?
So
how are we carbon-based
science tells
life form?
you that you are a carbon-based life form, right?
But I'm not, I guess.
But
there's no carbon in me.
Well, no, there's carbon in you. They're called hydrocarbons.
So we're water. We're a water-based life form.
85% of the human body is
water, yeah.
Water.
So is the earth. So is everything else.
Carbon in organic molecules has to formulate with oxygen and hydrogen to produce an organic molecule.
Gotcha. So we got to go just...
All
what makes
life is water-based on this planet. All life is water-based on this planet. Water connects you to the field. It amplifies the field, and the field I've already declared as foundational is what? Consciousness.
I was closer on my video than I thought. I was like, I don't feel like we're from here. I think we're more the aquatic type.
Now go back to the movie Abyss. You ever seen that movie from the 80s, Abyss?
No. Maybe. I don't know. What is it?
It's water-based life form.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. When he breathes with the liquid. Yeah.
And the water comes up and...
Yeah. Ed Harris. They
manipulated water.
Yeah, to have air in it.
Water is your connection, is the amplification of the field. And 85% of your body is water.
You were like certain that I saw that movie. You remember
I already know you saw that movie.
I did, 100%. I just remembered it now.
So, a symbol, okay, is a representation of information, of energy, of information on the quantum level that has the probability of manifestation depending upon the intent that you give it.
Right.
Okay. Water is an amplifier of the field of that quantum field of existence.
Okay.
So what is magic?
Knowing how to swim.
Well, what did we just say? There's something called ritualistic magic.
Right.
What do you think the rituals are designed for?
Water.
Well, think about the different orientations. Think about the different aspects of what we're talking about here.
Manipulation of water.
Well, no. Water is just a conduit. It's an amplifier.
So what is magic? It's
Think about the symbol is the heart of what we're talking about. Okay? Everything is symbolic. Everything in nature is symbolic. Remember we talked about the illusion? Everything you see in front of you is a fucking illusion. Okay? That illusion is symbolic. It's a representation of energy on the quantum level that has a probability of manifestation. Okay? Which means that everything that you see in front of you is a symbol actually held in your mind with a quantum probability of manifestation. It doesn't exist. It's not fucking real. It's an illusion. Okay? Everything that you see in front of you is a symbolic representation of what might be there.
Right, but you can verify that it is there, though. Like by touching it, I guess.
Okay, but does that mean that the color blue is the same colored blue that you see? Does it mean that when I touch a screen and monitor, it touches and feels and actually appears structurally the same way that you do? If you and I have agreed on what a monitor is, then every time we touch it, we're going to say the same dimensions. We're going to describe the same attributes. But that doesn't mean that we're experiencing the same thing. It's just the thing that you experience and the thing that I experience are described in the same language.
Okay. All right.
Okay? So, everything that's in front of us that you're seeing is an illusion. That is a representation. It's basically manifesting in your mind, and your mind is taking a representation of the quantum realm. It's putting it in symbolic form. The symbology is a neurological pattern of representation that occurs in your brain, right? You learn something throughout your life, your neurological patterns go, hey, I remember what that is, and I'm going to remember it as this pattern in sequence.
Right. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in actuality, what it is a symbolic representation of the quantum realm. Whoa, man, you having some problems there?
No, I'm good.
All right. Is a representation of the quantum realm of information that has a probability of manifestation. Now, what brings about the manifestation? This is the most important part to understand. What brings about the wave collapse?
The other person receiving it? Or your intent?
A surety, belief?
Right. That's what I mean by intent, though. That's what I mean by intent versus information. Mm-hmm. So information could just be like here. But intent is like here.
This is where we'll get into this here in a second.
You got to mean it. You know what I mean?
We have to get the base fundamental information.
Okay.
Because it is information. Right. It could be gibberish.
Right. But it's between the lines that you're putting the juice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Whatever your symbolic representation of your mind, your archetypical mind, perceives it to be. Okay. So, ritualistic magic is a process that defines an outcome, and the outcome has an expectation, which is always consistent. So these people who understand this process developed ways to replicate certain influences into reality.
That's what it is. Always consistent. This guy like that because you know how it's going to turn out.
Ritual is consistency, which means that they understand how to vibrate the universe with intent to bring about an expectation or an effect. Welcome to magic. Is if I want something to happen in the universe, these people have gone about and made a book of spells. And these spells have been validated for thousands of years. Why? Because they represent energy on the quantum realm that people bring their energy and intent to, which bring about a certain aspect of manifestation. Which means that... What's that?
What's this book called?
This is just magic. There's many forms of magic out there.
There's a book with all these spells in it. Where is it?
There's a lot of them. But be very careful if you use them because you don't know the original design and the intent behind them. And this is why it's best to formulate your own groups.
I agree.
Use your own sigils and symbols and produce your own magical spells. And this is what I'm trying to show you. Is if you get up every morning at 8 a.m., you go for a 1 mile run, right? Then you come home, you eat breakfast, and then you go to work for 8 hours a day. You come home, you go back to the gym, you take a shower, and you go to sleep. That's a routine. That is a ritual. And guess what? Every day, if you continuously do that, you know exactly the expectations are going to happen.
Yeah, you're going to be fit as hell. You can run a mile and go to the gym.
You're never going to be hungry, and you're always going to have money because you're continuously working.
Shit.
Right?
That's true.
That's a magic spell. That is a very basic magic spell.
Right. I get it. I know what you're talking about.
You're performing vibration. You're a distortion forming vibration in the field. That field vibration has a representation, a meaning, and when you perform it over and over and over again, results, expectation, or consequence come about. Causation and effect. Cause and effect.
Right. But that's like saying a Hot Wheels car is a Ferrari. You know what I mean?
No, it's not. How is that saying a Hot Wheels car is a Ferrari?
Because you just described. I mean, obviously, that's a magic spell, and I know exactly what you mean by it. But it's just a routine. I think everyone's a little bit. Well, I am, anyways. Curious about how to make such patterns to have bigger things than just me being fit manifest into reality with my intent.
Well, that is not based upon the magic spell, but simply the limitation of your mind.
Okay, so how do I take the limits off? I don't want
to. So in one of the books that I read, called The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Dr. Joseph Murphy talks about a gentleman in Australia who his father was a devout Catholic his whole life. His father got cancer, lung cancer, was going to die. And so the son went and saw a piece of wood on the ground one day, an old piece of driftwood, picked it up, and decided to play a trick on his dad to see if he could heal him because he heard about the placebo effect. And so he takes this piece of wood and he puts it into a necklace and puts it onto a cross and into a necklace. And he gives it to his father and he says this was blessed by the Pope and supposedly this was found after Jesus' death, and this is a piece of the cross that Jesus died on, and it's supposed to have magical healing properties.
No shit. And
the father wore it and prayed to it every day, and his cancer went away, and he died 15 years later.
Placebo effect, 100%. That's proven over and over in the holographic universe too.
That's right. But that's not. Was that symbol that?
Of course not.
It was what the father,
the belief,
gave it. It was the father gave the belief, the representation, the intent. I want healing, and he put the message of I want healing into the symbol, the physical representation of the symbol. The quantum level field represents I want healing. He wore it on himself. That resonates with him. He wants healing. The field reflects back to him the intent. He becomes healed.
And the son didn't even really have to put much intent into it. I mean, he the guy that gave him the cross, I mean.
Now, how about this one? This is another story.
Right? Because that would be the father.
Well, here's this one. An 82-year-old woman had chest pains right in here her whole life. Oh, sorry, an 82-year-old farmer had chest pains his whole life right in here.
Okay.
Never cared to go to the doctor.
Okay.
Didn't care to go to the doctor, ever. Hadn't been to the doctor in almost 40 years. Goes to the doctor, 80-something years old. Doctor gives him a checkup and says, you got lung cancer. And he goes, it's metastasized. It's spread throughout your whole body. He goes, you should have been dead 20 years ago. This is old. The guy died 3 weeks later. He'd been living with it for over 40 years.
Yep.
Because he simply didn't know.
Same thing with the placebo in the holographic universe. They gave him a placebo drug and the guy completely lost cancer. And then they told him that it was a placebo in like 2 days or two. Like it was really, and he died.
Now, what is that?
Up. Your mind, obviously.
It's your mind imprinting on the field. When I say quantum, just think that it's the etheric field that exists all around you. There's an invisible field. Remember we talked about dark energy and dark matter?
Yeah, we're all floating in ether.
This field, this ether field, is this field that we're talking about.
It's alive, right?
It's conscious. It is consciousness. Because here's the thing, is you can't exist unless the field observes you.
Because you're distorting back to it
Right.
what you are.
Go back to if you go to the actual scientific breakdown of the double slit experiment, what you really learn is this: is that a reality has to observe the observer.
As well as okay.
Is that reality is completely subjective.
Right.
Right? But here's the thing is the universe itself couldn't evolve. The physical universe can't evolve if it wasn't observed. Observing.
Right.
It has to be observed.
So like did the tree fall kind of thing. Right.
Right. Well, but that defines a sound, and the sound is
no, but I'm not talking.
That has to collapse. I'm not talking about, and the only way it collapses is if it's by an ear. But I know what you're saying, and you're right.
I mean, if nobody's there, did it fall at all? Forget about the sound.
That's the thing. Is that in order for there to be a tree, the wave would have to have collapsed, which means that the wave would have to have been observed.
Observed by whom? Who's the first observer?
There you go.
Like ever.
Welcome.
Who observed the first wave?
Welcome to mind. That's God. Now, remember how I described God? Totality and absolutism, right?
Right.
If you're in the state of totality and absolutism, you are everything. You are not out. You're not within. You are without. You are everything. Everything is contained within. Therefore, you know all. You are all. You're omnipresent. You're omniscient, right? You are all. But here's the thing. If you are all, you know all, what questions can you ask?
Nothing.
Nothing. Because there's nothing to ask, because you know it all.
Yeah.
You're impartial as well to your creation.
Right, because then you obviously wouldn't exist. You have to be impartial.
Right. Think about this in your own mind and your imagination. Have you ever tried to consciously interject in your imagination when you're imagining something? Like, oh, I didn't want that to happen. I go back and try to change it. It ruins the whole fucking experience, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've never done that before. I don't do that. Because it would. Yeah, 100%.
You just let it naturally flow.
Yeah. And then you fix it. If there's a bump, you just kind of iron it out later on.
But if you consciously interject, it screws it up.
Yeah.
So God's impartial.
Okay.
Because if God interjected, it screws up the meditation, the concentration of the thought.
I understand. I'm with that. I get it. And that's why people are like, oh, how can you be God? He killed all these people. Like, no, you don't understand.
No, that was the laws. Remember when Moses came down from Mount Ararat, he carried the laws of God. Okay? God is law. That's what the Torah teaches.
God is water. Flowers and weeds grow.
Guess what they teach in Hermeticism? They teach the laws of nature. God prescribes, sets into motion the laws. It is the laws that bring about dictation, and magic is organized within the realm of law.
Okay. That just got way harder. What do you mean? What? What law? Okay, so to practice magic, you have to know the laws of nature, how to abide by them, and how to use them to...
Well, there's a lot here. I mean, this is
I know.
Why this is too multi-parted. Okay.
It was like 7.
Yeah, this could be massive, but we'll just take it.
Tomorrow's going to be.
And I'm not ignoring everybody in the chat, but you know how it happens when I get going.
I don't even know. I can't see the chat. I don't know.
So there's 7 principles in Hermeticism. Okay. The first principle is the principle of mentalism. The universe is mental. The all is mind. Period.
Okay.
What does that mean?
The universe is mental and the all is mind.
Mm-hmm.
The universe is mental and the all is mind. So the universe is what you perceive and the all is what you are?
No. The universe is mental. It's a mental creation. If you close your eyes and begin to think, what takes over?
Your mind, I guess.
But what portion of your mind?
The subconscious.
What is the only creative force in existence in your mind?
Thought.
Imagine nation.
Right. Okay. Right. Thought.
So the universe is mental.
You're imagining
the all is mind.
With your mind.
We are in the imagination of God. You exist in the imagination of God.
So I'm a figment of God's imagination. Cool.
Okay?
Nice to be here.
This goes way deeper, right?
No, it's actually pretty good
Okay.
because it's like you're not a physical being and a spiritual thing. You're a spiritual being. That's that whole thing. Like this is y- God seeing Himself through you, so to
Samuel
speak.
Clemens. You know who Samuel Clemens was? Mark Twain.
Sounds right.
Okay.
I know Mark Twain is.
Mark Twain created Huck Finn, a
Hmm.
character in the book, right?
Yep.
Okay. Was Huck Finn Mark Twain?
No, never got that
No.
deep.
Does Huck Finn have attributes of Mark Twain?
Of course, because He created him.
That's right. Will Huck Finn ever be Mark Twain?
No, no,
Do they even exist in the same universe?
no.
Because Huck Finn exists in the book and is between the covers of the book.
Mhm.
They don't even exist in the same realm. Mark Twain exists in a whole different universe outside of Huck Finn.
Okay, so I'm Huck Finn.
I am a part of the creation. Or what is it? I am the creator is within me, but yet I am not he. The creator is within me, but yet I am not he. Mark Twain is within Huck Finn, yet Huck Finn is not Mark Twain.
All whiskey is Scotch, but not all Scotch is whiskey, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Now, this goes to the second point, the second principle of Hermeticism. This is the principle of correspondence. And this is the most popular one in esotericism. As above, so below, so below, as above. Now, it's said that in the 18th century, when they exhumed the tomb of Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, if this ever happened, they were searching for his last work, his last book that he wrote, known as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
I remember hearing about
And
this.
on the Emerald Tablets, now there's a lot of information out there about this, and there's a book actually called the Emerald Tablets, and I'll tell you that I doubt the information on that. Because in the real story, is there is only a few words transcribed on an emerald tablet found on the exhumed tomb of Thoth. And you want to know
Yeah, I
what
was
those
just gonna
words
say,
were?
look like it. Yeah, go ahead.
As above, so below.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for making it so easy for us.
Now, what does that mean?
Heck yeah, zero clue. I mean, I could kind of,
Go
what
back
you
to
put out is what you'll get back,
Okay, how about
kind
this?
of type of thing.
Remember the expanding universe that we were just talking about before, and how it's expanding in different variations of vibration and frequency, and that they have the 12 octaves, and they repeat over and over and over again in cyclical fashion?
Right.
This means that the lower dimensional levels and the higher dimensional levels are based upon the same laws and principles.
Right. Okay. That's
As above,
easy enough. So below.
So below. Now, think about this in this sense in mental alchemy, internal mental alchemy. What goes up must come down. So, if you go out and experience a massively heightened sense of awareness, what happens?
You crash after.
You crash. Now, let me ask you this. That is only saying that your mind exists at this point of existence. So, if I rise up to this level and experience existence at this level, why don't I just experience a crash on that level, which when that crash goes down at that level, I'm still higher than I was on my original level before.
Are you though? I guess essentially because you learned something new. Is that what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what it's showing you is that to avoid the pains of the lower realms, we vibrate on the higher. Okay? A swing to the left is a swing to the right, but the swing to the left and the lower realms is still a swing to the right on the higher realms.
Got it. I understand.
This is mental alchemy. This is Stoicism.
Okay. I can see that.
Okay?
Makes perfect sense, actually. Yeah.
The next is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates.
Oh, I know that one. So we're never really holding anything.
Well,
Like I'm not
everything is in
holding
a
these.
continuous state of vibration. Why is that? Because everything is moving to a point of optimization, of energy optimization within the universe. Everything is existent within a field that is existent in nothingness, right? Remember we talked about the standing waves, the field actually being zero, but there's energetic inputs, and this
Yep.
field is perturbed. Is distortions come in this field? Those distortions, when they interact with this field, produce vibration. Vibration is all motion. All motion is vibration.
Everything moves.
Everything moves. The next principle is polarity.
How many principles are there?
There's 7.
Oh, great.
Everything
Okay.
is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has a pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled.
Okay. But that's kind of like as above, so below, though.
No, it's
Again.
not. This is how I want you to think about this.
Okay.
Okay.
So just like this. Okay.
Water.
Mhm.
When does water get cold?
When it slows down,
When does water get cold?
when it's cold outside.
When does water get cold? If you and me both start putting our hands in water, when's the water cold?
When we touch it,
Who determines it?
we do.
Is it subjective, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Who determines to say that, okay, 48 degrees is when water gets cold?
No. It's cold at like 55.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I understand. Okay.
What temperature do you define as cold?
Okay.
You don't. It's simply a degree of motion. Now, extremes meet. If you went down to absolute zero, is that the same as absolute temperature? The extremes meet at the poles.
So zero is negative 293.
Absolute zero is a vibrational state of activity where everything
So
comes
it's not
to
moving.
a standstill.
Right. Okay. So it's not moving. So when
Okay.
when it gets cold, it gets out. So when it slows down, essentially, it gets cold.
So, in vibrational physics, what happens when you vibrate things to an infinite degree?
They heat up.
How about this? Think about a wheel and spokes, and when you start spinning it.
Yeah.
Can you see it anymore?
No, because it
You can see
goes
right through it.
going fast, right? Oh shit. Yo, is that because the atoms are like that just tripped
No,
me
if you
out
put
so
your
much?
hand in there, you're going to lose your hand. But what
I know, but you can't see it because it's moving
because
faster
it's
than your eye.
moving so fast. So the field in front of you, the etheric field,
How fast is that moving?
so
Seriously,
fast
how fast are those
that,
folks?
that we perceive it as optimization, as zero. When in actuality, when those two waves come together and they're 180 degrees out of phase, they're still moving.
Yeah, I get you. I hear exactly what you're saying. Like it's crazy. Like how fast is this moving that we're it's fast enough to look real, right?
The next one is the principle of rhythm.
Okay.
Everything flows out and in. Everything has tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates.
Okay.
So
So
rhythm is a natural law of what?
nature,
Evolution.
right? Okay.
It's
Rhythm.
the,
Well,
it's
I
the
mean,
natural boundary, right?
it's the whole yeah, zodiac what we were talking about before. It's the same similar thing.
Yeah.
Rhythm. Waves, the cycles. Cyclical.
The next one is the principle of cause and effect.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward, I think.
Every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law.
Chance is a law not recognized. So you just don't know it. There's no such thing as luck. You just don't know what's
Right.
going on.
Chance is simply law not recognized.
So good. That's a good one.
Now, I'm going to put out, so this is the last one. The last one is the principle of gender. Now, contrary to popular belief, gender is everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes.
Really? Well, I mean, apparently, if they say so, I believe them because they know what the fuck they're talking about. But I understand because a lot of languages, like Russian and Spanish, they have genders for different things. Like, like it's a man knife, it's the woman fork, el
And
tenedor,
so
la.
a lot of people say, well, what is the difference between gender and polarity? Right?
Because polarity is different. Polarity is like a balanced. Gender is positive is positive and negative is
Think
negative.
about it
Gender
like
is
this.
strong and weak,
Well,
or
I look
fragile
at it,
in completion.
well, think about it
Yin
as
yang
direction
types.
of flow, okay? Is
Okay.
I can have a positive ion moving in this direction, or it can be moving in this direction. Or it can be moving like this outwardly, or it can be moving like this inwardly. Gender is the movement inward or outward. Masculine is expansive, divergent energy. Feminine is convergent, implosive energy.
Empath. Yeah, they're very implosive sometimes.
And that's the best way to kind of describe masculine and feminine. Now, here's the beauty of this. If you put all of these into a pyramid, yes, the pyramid of illumination, at the bottom, you have the manifestation of the gender, which is in precedence. In order for gender to happen, you have to have cause and effect in existence. Cause and effect is in precedence. In order for cause and effect to happen, there has to be rhythm. There has to be the ebb and flow.
Rhythm to happen.
In order for rhythm to happen, you have to have polarity. Because if you don't have the opposites, you can never find the correlated rhythm between the two. In order for polarity to happen, things got to vibrate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Vibration is in precedence of correspondence. If things only vibrated on one plane of existence, there's nothing to transfer the inertia, the momentum to.
Nothing to vibrate against, right? Yeah, of
Nothing
course.
to vibrate against. And so that's why you have the principle of correspondence. And if things were not brought about in levels of correspondence, then mind would just be all. Mind would be an absolutism or totality with no questions to ask.
So because of this all of these other things, we are who we are and why we are, I guess. So
It all exists in precedence.
Right.
Which means that in order for the first to happen, the second has to happen. In order for the last to be there, all the others must exist.
Has to be there, right.
This is also a path of spiritual progression to enter back in the source.
Right. That's why.
It's a center of self-mastery. Now, this is an interesting paradigm to think about of why right now in this world that the bottom level, the law of gender, is the one that is most messed up.
Yeah. We're almost there.
No, it's actually quite opposite.
What? Why?
Because it is being perturbed. It is being distorted. That is the so they're creating a fundamental fourth principle, right? But so cause and effect. So if you perturb gender, the understanding of gender, there you go.
And then if you perturb that, then guess what else
now
comes into play?
You see the pattern. And now guess what? If I perturb gender in a certain way, I know that cause and effect comes into play. And if I know cause and effect comes into play, I have expectations of what my input is going to bring on an output. Welcome to Magick.
Polarity. Right.
Welcome to Magick. If I create a sequence of things that happens, a sequence of actions and influences into the universe, I have an expectation of what can manifest within the universe because of the realm of cause and effect, because of the law of polarity, because of the law of correspondence.
I've been doing this my whole life.
Everybody has. You do it
all the time.
All the time. So what is Magick?
Living consciously.
There it is.
Honestly,
seriously, the thing is,
aware.
Before you can do all this, you have to do one thing.
Understand.
Discover yourself. Because you remember, I remember when we talked about like knowing yourself and knowing God, and like I can only know Dimitri through how I know myself. So if I don't know myself very well, I can't know other people very well, right? If I don't know myself, if I don't love myself, I can never love anybody else. If I hate everybody, it means I hate myself. This is psychology 101. This is Freudism, right? But here's the thing. Is the only way I can know Dimitri is through the level I know myself. So think about inside yourself. You have a series of character, a series of attributes, and all these things are on a measurable basis. And you can measure them and like, okay, I know myself pretty well, my future prediction, my past, right? My habits, my behaviors, my thoughts.
Well, everything,
right.
Like a video game with the attributes, right?
Which means that when Dimitri speaks, those things in me start to resonate and say, hey, I know that. Oh, I can associate with that. I can associate with this. And it happens subconsciously.
Vibes, yeah.
That's the vibrational aspect of what we're talking about here. And so when Dimitri speaks, vibrates, electrical signaling, neural patterning comes into place subconsciously, pulls up all these things that are stored within my memory basis, vibrates with them, because that's how well I know myself. But they're all things contained within me that Dimitri vibrates within me, which means that how I perceive Dimitri as an asshole, as a good person, or whatever it might be, is simply a manifestation of my own inner state of being.
Right. What's resonating? What am I vibrating in you is what I'm vibrating in you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah.
So here's the key. God.
Okay.
How can you know God?
Everything vibrates.
Well, how do I know Dimitri?
As much as you know yourself. It's the same thing, essentially, right?
So how can I know God?
As much as you know yourself.
So if you want to know God more,
learn about yourself. Have more open things to vibrate.
The path. Nobody comes unto the Father except through me. Now, what is Christ?
I don't know.
Ipsum te gnosis. The process of knowing yourself.
So Christ is the two columns?
Christ is a state of consciousness. What Christ obtained is a state of consciousness. A bodhisattva, if you want to call it, becoming enlightened.
Okay.
Yeah, Christ consciousness is what they call it in the New Age movement. Right? Christ is Christ. It's the embodiment of God. Why is it the embodiment of God? Put it together. How do I know Dimitri?
I know. He's the embodiment of God because he is God, because he knew himself ultimately. Like completely. He figured himself out. It's like what the rainbow body essentially is too, right? And they just vaporize into the ether once they figure themselves out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is the only way you can know God is through knowing yourself. So Jesus says, nobody come unto the Father unless through me.
Okay. Gotcha. He was the first one that did it. He said, this is what you have to do to get there, essentially.
There's many variations of,
what that means. Yeah.
Right. There's symbolic representations. There's metaphorical. There's literal. Right.
Yeah, like you have to fight Jesus to get to God. Like, what do you mean?
You have to find yourself. Salvation. Now think of Christianity in this whole perspective of discovering who you are, of self-knowledge, of self-power, of self-discovery.
Don't tell me I'm Christ. I don't want to be Christ.
No, you're not. But that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
Is you have to discover yourself on any journey inward. Because everything external, how we started this, remember, Jacqueline and Boaz, the externalization of reality is an illusion. That is Lucifer out there. Everything that is out in front of you right now, this illusion is Lucifer. It is the first light.
Got you. Now I understand what you mean by that.
The only path is through God, is through the Father, which the only way to know the path
through you.
Is through yourself. Magic's incredible, isn't it? So what is magic?
Learn about is mastering yourself.
Because the moment you begin to master yourself, the moment you begin to realize everything we just talked about, you begin to realize your interconnectedness, that in order for me to observe myself, myself must be observed by something. And so as much as I observe God, or I begin to know God, God is also knowing me and observing me. Because it has to be, everything is observed in the universe. Everything that manifests is observed in the universe. Therefore, if I am knowing to myself to get myself closer to knowing God, therefore God is also observing me in the process.
That's crazy. I think that makes sense.
Now, your connectiveness to nature, this is what the Star Wars talked about, midichlorians. Right? Okay. Ooh, high concentration of midichlorians in that one. And the force was what? All life emanates a field, and this field can be utilized by the Jedi.
The chi.
Influenced. Chi. Orgone. It's the field that water amplifies. It's the same field. It's that field that observes you, because you are existent within that field. And you only simply have to realize it. Now, here's the thing, is when that field, we live in a trust-based universe. What does that mean?
Trust because what? You trust it, you see what is real is there? I don't know. Trust-based universe.
We live in a trust-based universe. Remember, the field is consciousness, right?
So trust that you're going to do what you're going to, I don't know.
So does that field ultimately give you all the powers inherent to all conscious beings?
Okay, yeah.
No.
You gotta earn your stripes. Right?
You have to start at the very, very low depths of reality. And you have to work your way up to a position of trust. Hence why people like Jeff Bezos, who know the secret, whether we think he's evil or not, can wake up every morning and have a million opportunities to change the world with simply by saying yes, and absolutely no liability from doing that. Because the universe trusts him in the process. Not because the universe is participating, because he knows the laws and works within the laws. Remember, the universe is impartial, but the laws bring about a level of trust.
So follow the laws, and you'll be trusted more.
Follow the process, right? Know the laws, follow the process.
Yeah, okay.
Like your routine. You wake up in the morning, you go work out, you go eat breakfast, you go to work, you come home, you work out. Guess what? You know exactly what you're going to get. You can influence your reality to a certain degree. Your actions determine your reality. Your actions and influences determine your reality. What produces your actions and your influences?
Imagination.
The mental state of your mind, the mental processes. Your habits and behaviors manifest into your rituals and routines, which bring about your thoughts, which bring in your imaginations, which bring about your actions and your influences, which therefore create your reality, and happens all over again. Your creation of your reality reinforces your belief system. Your belief system brings about your habits and behaviors. Your habits and behaviors bring about your rituals and routines.
In reality,
repeat the process.
Fuck.
When you are good at that process, the universe begins to trust you, because what happens is it's the law of compensation within the universe. Remember, we talked about this. Is energy exchange. It's the only thing that ever happens in the universe. The only thing that ever happens is energy exchange. Like right now, I'm giving out energy, right? It means I'm creating a deficiency within my system. The universe has to compensate me for that. Now, here's the beauty of it. I'm giving it to thousands of people. I'm giving that knowledge, that information to thousands of people. Knowledge in action is called wisdom, by the way. So when you take the information I give you and you actually utilize it, that's wisdom. Now, that's paid back in trust to me. The universe gives me a level of trust and sends me back energy in accordance to how many people I'm influencing through my actions. So if I'm influencing thousands of people, the universe is going to send that energy back to me. But here's the beauty of it, is the universe is impartial, remember? So it's not going to send you polarized energy. It's not going to send you good or bad energy. It's not going to do good or bad things to you. It's just going to send you raw fucking Energy. Guess how that energy manifests in your life?
With
This is
your
where
patterns
alchemy
and
comes
your
in. Alchemy, mental alchemy. Lead or gold.
Right.
So if your mind
God
is
or
aligned, if your mind is aligned towards fucking garbage, oh, poor me, I'm Eeyore. My life's hell. My life sucks. Today's going to be a bad day. I'm
get
poor.
a big ball
I
of raw
have no
energy.
money.
Bah!
I have no money. Oh, my life is shit. Oh, I can't pay my bills. Guess what's happening? The universe is feeding you back energy, and you're aligning it, polarizing that energy to manifest your reality, which reinforces your belief, which creates your habits and behaviors, which then creates your rituals and routines, reinforces your imagination thoughts, creates the actions and influences, which create your reality. Welcome to Magick.
Cool.
101.
That was awesome.
Boom.
That's like a perfect first day.
Tomorrow we'll get into attention and intention and how to actually utilize the mental faculties to derive all of this, to bring it all home together. So if you're just new to this YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm pretty sure you've never heard this shit before in your life. Trust me, I've been doing this a very long time. I've studied esotericism, the mystery schools, for well over 25 fucking years. When I'm telling you this stuff,
I wanted to hear it. Yeah.
I'm telling you this stuff because I love you. Because you know what? This information should not be held away from humanity. It should be given to them.
I agree.
Give it to you with gratitude, with no expectation of return. And you'll realize one day why I do that. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight on Insomniac Hour. I think we went a little over time, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
Awesome. It was a great show.
Thank you.
We went over 39 minutes. Thank you guys for joining us. We love you. God bless. See you tomorrow. And another episode of Insomniac Hour. Tomorrow will be Magick Part 2. We'll be talking about more of the same. We'll probably get a little more in depth into absolutism, totality. We'll get into depth into nothingness. What is the definition of nothingness? We'll start talking about infinity. We'll start talking about universal expansion, what energy actually is, how the universe kind of is created in this mental landscape, and what the thought of God potentially could be, how magic actually manifests in the reality, and how to utilize it starting tomorrow. We're going to talk about all this.
There is no definition of nothingness.
Yeah, guys.
That's a loaded question, but that's tomorrow, though.
There is. There's no definition of nothingness, and
there is no definition.
It takes one to know one. All right, guys. Take care. Much love, respect. God bless, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Good night.